Yep, we are live. Woohoo. Okay, so we're scrolling, we scrolling. Do you see me? I like this view better. All right, what is up, party people? This is Matt Latham. I am a board certified master arborist and the only registered consulting arborist in Houston. And welcome to Ask an Arborist live Q&A. This is our 10th edition. You can see we did number 9 over here. And we're just scrolling through, man. We had some awesome questions. And we're broadcasting live. Oh, wait, hold on. We got some technical issues, y'all. Sounds like we're having some connection issues on Facebook. All right, so I'm being told by the magical man in my ears here. His name is Lucas, by the way. He's my right-hand man, and he is awesome and makes this all possible for you guys. But basically, if you got tree questions, I got tree answers, and we are broadcasting live right now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, pretty much everywhere except your freaking toaster. And so feel free to drop your questions in the comments down below, no matter where you're tuning in from. But before we jump in, quick plug. If you ever need a one-on-one consultation about your trees, hit us up on the web at arboristsondemand.com. We do essentially telemedicine for trees. That's where you can book time with me or one of our expert arborists from anywhere in the country. So whether it's storm damage, weird tree stuff going on, or construction concerns, etc., we've got you covered. Also, if you're not already a part of this Facebook group here on FaceWebs, it's Ask an Arborist. We'd love to have you here. Get your butt in here, and we're having a great conversation about trees. And let me tell you, I have seen some world-class people when it comes to tree care come in here and just basically give away free advice. Like Norman Farrell over here, y'all can see him right here. Legend in the industry. What do we have? Jeremy Purcell, Robert Compton. We've got so many really top-notch, pun intended, maybe, arborists in here answering your tree questions. So I started this group just as a way, because here's the thing. Yes, 10 different. Hey, what's up, JK? Glad to have you with us. Thanks for being here. But ask 10 different arborists and you'll get 10 different answers. And it's just gross to me. Like, it really shouldn't be this way, but it is what it is. And so we started this page so that you could come in here and just get great tree advice from world-class leading experts in the industry and really know that you're getting solid advice. So thanks so much for being here. We've got some awesome people that have just been hanging out with us, and glad to see you guys. And let's get right into it. So we've got a question from Karen Wilcox, excuse me, if I can speak words in English, has a Acer rubrum. For those of you that want to know, that's a red maple. Acer is maple, rubrum is red. Planted 4 to 5 years ago. It's been struggling ever since. Ontario, Canada, Zone 6 clay soil, full sun. What does it need, or is it a lost cause? Nope, not a lost cause. Let's take a look at this bad boy. All right, so we got Acer rubrum, red maple. Now, here in Houston, red maple, I don't recommend it. Up in Canada, Toronto, wherever you are, the climate there is usually much more conducive for great maples, so feel free to plant away. So what we're looking at here, Karen, is you've got a chlorotic tree. Chlorosis is the word of the day, and essentially chlorosis is a really fancy way of saying tree don't have enough minerals to make chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, as we all know, is from whatever 5th grade science or biology or whatever. Chlorophyll is what gives the tree its green color, and every plant for that matter. But it also is what takes the sunlight, uses that sunlight as energy to convert CO2 and water, H2O, into carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, typically in the form of sugars and carbohydrates. So C6H12O6. And so chlorophyll is really important. Now, a tree can be in this type of state for a little while if it was doing well prior to this. But eventually this is going to take a serious toll. And you can already start to see this poor guy's got some fungal pathogens, maybe. That could just be like heat. or it could be bacterial. I'm not sure exactly, but what you're looking at is, we call it an abiotic stressor, Karen. This is essentially the tree don't have enough minerals. Now, planted 4 to 5 years ago, you're right in that 3 to 5 year range where we start to see all of the bad things happen due to improper or improper planting, or just plain old transplant shock. So that's a normal thing, but this is not normal. So what we want to do is we want to get the tree going in the right direction. Now, I would bet money, good hard-earned money, that I don't really have to bet. But by the way, every tree guy you'll ever meet is in a non-for-profit business. That's how it works. But we're trying to change that, and really try to make a difference in the impact, where guys actually know what they're doing and they can start charging appropriately based on what they know. So I am a big proponent of the fact that the industry's got to change, just plain and simple. And so I'm trying to make a difference as such. And one of those ways we could do that is just teaching you guys all about your trees. So Cindy, says it looks like a nutrient deficiency of some kind. Yes. Okay. Clay soil. Christine, thank you so much for being here 5 days ago. She's been a wonderful contributor to this site, and she's been paying attention, by the way. And by the way, thank you so much, Chris, for your review the other day. That goes so far when it comes to really growing this thing and helping us thrive as a company and be able to do things like this for you guys. So humic acid, humates will help break down clay soil and release nutrients. And the way that works is it's going to essentially, we call it chemical flocculation, is what it's going to do. That humic acid is going to bind to the clay particles and essentially crystallize them to where there's pore space in between. And what happens is the microbes, the beneficial guys, the endo and ectomycorrhizal fungus, and the beneficial bacteria are going to grow and feed on those humates. And so what will happen is they'll start to actually pull the nutrients out of the soil, make them available to the tree. Now, one thing you can do, and this might help, is you can get a soil sample. That's the wrong one. Hold on. Where are we at? And feel free to ship to the United States. These guys are awesome. But you can even go through your local municipality as well, and see if maybe they can help you out. But I know I've worked on a case in Canada where it's a little bit different. It goes through the government basically, and they have various sources you can send them to. So just like here in the United States, we have our agriculture extensions. Each province up in Canada does have their own essentially agriculture extension as well. And so you can send them soil samples. Combine that, though. Don't just send a soil sample, because realistically, it's probably going to show you got everything you need in the soil. Most of the time, it's because those minerals that the tree needs to produce the chlorophyll to make it healthy and thrive are locked up in that clay. So oftentimes you'll get a high sodium content or just a low pH. Believe it or not, iron tends to. Let me go back to this because they got a really cool chart on here that might become really handy. So this is, I gotta zoom out a little bit. Hold on. So here's a pH scale. So if you know water on a pH scale is 7, pure water. So whenever you start to get more alkaline going towards the right here, that will indeed make a lot of these minerals down here become completely unavailable to your tree. If you notice some of the other ones, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, they got a little leeway. You can go up, you can go down, and they're generally going to be available to your tree. But very quickly, you'll notice when you start to get the 7.5, 8, 8.5 range, all of those minerals become completely unavailable to your tree. So think of like an iron rod. The tree can't take up an iron rod, right? So iron tends to solidify in a basic or an alkaline soil. And so that's probably what's going on here. You got clay. Clay's typically alkaline, not always, but hopefully that helps. And hold on. Getting my mouse to work here. I hope that helps, Karen. And we're going to move on. Thomas is saying, is it okay to use great stuff expanding foam to seal a cavity while it heals? Long answer short, no. Do not ever do that. You know what's the only thing worse than that is filling it with concrete. This is awesome. How deep is the hole? A picture might help. Man, you guys are awesome. Christine, I'm wondering when you're going to go get your Arborist certification. You are rocking and rolling here. Again, Robert Compton, just an absolute legend in the industry. He's up in the Dallas area, I believe. Was that 469? Where you at, Robert? Yep, 469. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Robert's up in Dallas. If y'all need a great arborist, he's up there and available. We've got some great ones on here. We're actually working on putting together a um, preferred vendor list, if you will. These are people that are going on here and answering your questions, but out of the goodness of their hearts. We want to help reward them and give them a little business as such, because oftentimes you guys are in the same area where a lot of these guys are, and it just makes sense to connect you. So we're working on that. But Robert's right. He's saying it's okay for the trees to get wet. Typically, when you get water pooling in a cavity like we're seeing here, what's going to happen is that's actually going to suppress all the pathogenic fungus that will attack the tree. So I'm not opposed. Great picture, Thomas. Thanks for sending that, but leave it alone. That's the best thing. If you really want to get fancy with it, you can put a little chicken wire over it, and that'll help the wound to seal. But trees are actually genetically programmed to seal wounds just like that. So hope that helps, and we are moving on. Yeah, don't use gray stuff. That's no. What'll happen? That'll actually trap moisture in there and actually promote fungal pathogens because it's not anaerobic, and it will allow them to grow and thrive. So hope that helps. Therese is asking, hello, the sweeping willow tree looks good from a distance, but has a scar from the deer rub before we fenced it. Yeah, those freaking animals. We got to love them. Also, they can cause damage to our trees. Now it looks like the bark is separating from the trunk. Is there hope for its survival? Please see the picture below. Planted a few years ago, central PA. I was hoping it would grow into a nice shade tree. Yeah, weeping willows are great. I will say this, you got to expose those root flares. That is so important, Teresa. Let me show you on the whiteboard here. I actually happen to have it up from yesterday when we were talking trees too. And so you see here, this is very bad. We don't want to do that. You don't want a telephone pole coming out of the soil. What you want is for it to flare out nice and big and transition into those roots. Those roots are going to come down here and they're going to feast on all that healthy oxygen. Whenever you bury them, that's that much room for the oxygen and the water to get down to the roots. So that's no good. You absolutely have to expose those root flares. That is so hypercritical. Now let's take a look at it a little closer. If you see sawdust around the base of the tree, it's probably willow borer. Mine had it, and I had to cut down three of them. Plus, it looks like you planted it too deep, which is eventually will cause the tree to stress and I would say unalive eventually. So, yeah, great advice, Cindy. Thanks for being here. Well done. You've been paying attention. And also, yeah, those borers are generally going to go after a stress tree. Now, I will say this about your damage here, Teresa. Oh, hold on. What's up, y'all? It looks like this is a very old wound, maybe a few years old. So, he's on a slight delay. He's telling me things that I already knew. Thanks a lot, Lucas. No, I'm just kidding. You're awesome, man. Yeah, so good deal putting the fence around it. That will keep the deer out for the most part. Sometimes they'll get in there anyways, but honestly, they probably don't care enough. So, yeah, you've got a little scar here, but what I see is nice, good, healthy living tissue. So give it a little health boost, supplement it with water when it gets super dry. And I don't see any problem with that. The big issue is you got to get those root flares exposed. That is so hypercritical. All right, we are moving on. Thanks again, Cindy, for your contribution there. That was amazing. And solid advice. I couldn't have said it better. John's asking, I live in Michigan and have 3 red oaks that leaves are browning on. I treated them with an antifungal last spring, and the leaves came in green, but by July they start turning brown. Same again this year. From what I read, it is oak. If it's oak wilt, the tree should have died unalived quickly. I hate to cut them down unless there is no hope. Everybody wants to call oak wilt before they know what it is. So this is not oak wilt. Sean, you don't have to worry about oak wilt. At least not now. Maybe later, but at least not now. Those are not the symptoms that you're seeing. First of all, red oak, pin oak, water oak, anything in the red oak family is going to unalive very, very quickly with oak wilt. Oak wilt is I can't remember the first word, but it's Phagocerum is the last word. Let's see what it is. Hold on. Ceratocystis. That's right. Ceratocystis Phagocerum. It's a fungus, right? And I want you to take a look at this. So this is totally different. What you're seeing is these not intervenal, but actual venal unalive back. And so typically it's a vascular wilt disease. So think of like clogged arteries for humans. And what you're seeing on all of these pictures is it starts the yellowing in the actual veins of the leaf. And so you can see here, let's see if we can get a closer image. It's not working for me. Here we go. There is actually a specific region that goes from Canada all the way down. I say Canada. I hope y'all don't take offense to that. All my neighbors up in the great north. Let's see if we can find this picture here. Now, that was a great picture. It represents it. There we go. Right on. Okay, so if you see here, the vein on the leaf is where that starts. All of those are yellow and unaliving back. So it's like I said, a vascular wilt type fungal pathogen. It does not consume the woody tissue, but you've actually got some green in there, and I'm seeing some good signs of health on the veins. All I'm seeing is intervenal. So this is not textbook oak wilt, especially if you're seeing it season after season after season. What I think's probably going on is maybe some sort of minor fungal pathogen combined, and that could be even bacterial. Bacterial leaf scorch. I don't see oak wilt at all. What I see is a really stressed tree and some unalive back. That could be like Phytophthora or something like that. Check on the trunk, and maybe you can send me some more pictures, Sean. But check on the trunk there, because if you see like bleeding wounds coming out of there, that may be something more like Phytophthora or Fusarium or something like that. But I'm not seeing oak wilt at all. I think you're okay on that. Instead of treating with the antifungal, because fungicide will damage a lot of the microflora in the soil as well, what I think you would be better off doing is do a sort of, let's see here, where's vertical mulching? Hold on a second, y'all. Move this over here for a minute. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to post this here for you, Sean. Try some vertical mulching. I think that's going to go a long ways to open up the soil, which will help promote the beneficials and get away from those fungicides. Fungicides cause, typically, in my humble opinion at least, cause more damage than they do help. And so it's kind of a dangerous battleground, because sometimes you got to use them, but oftentimes you can overuse them. And then check into this. Let's see. Arborist on demand. Let's see if I can find this. Where's my Shopify store? Maybe that's it. Cool. I found it. Thank y'all for being patient with me, guys. We're getting internets going. My son, of course, as it so often does, is on the video games, which makes my internet slow. But this is going to be a really great product for you. And then I'm going to give you one other one that'll actually, it's not an antifungal. It's not a fungicide per se. They consider it a more of a biological treatment. Think of it like probiotics for trees. So I definitely see some fungal pathogens going on there, Sean, but I don't think it's like oak wilt or something crazy like that where you've got to take drastic measure. I think you're dealing with more of kind of a minor secondary type infestation or infection. So I think you're better off going the biological route and really just treating it, taking care of it. This stuff you do have to mix with molasses, and you want to get a really high quality molasses, like cooking molasses or something like that. I think that'll go a long way. So give it a shot and see what happens. You can spray that on the trunk and on the soil all around that tree. But what you may have is more of a bacterial issue than to me, it looks almost a little more like a bacterial leaf scorch than it does oak wilt or something like that. So hope that helps, Sean. Moving on. Land is asking, where you at, Land? No idea. We have a maple with a large hole in it. We plan on removing it, but it looks healthy. Any chance it could survive or should be removed? Zone 8A. That really all depends on what are the consequences if it does fall. Is it going to come crashing down on your home and family? Then you should probably get rid of it. If it's not going to cause damage, then go ahead and keep it. I say, live and let live. Like let it do its thing. Honestly, every big tree that I've ever removed had some too significant decay in it. So legacy trees, heritage trees, whatever you want to call them, they will all have decay in it. So here's the thing. You and I have an immune system. We have antibodies. They come in and they attack all the bad bugs that want to come and eat us alive. And there's a lot of them, believe me. My wife and I have Lyme disease. So it's no fun. I don't recommend it. But essentially, what that does is it suppresses our immune system. That's why we get sick with other things. So they call it the flu season, when in reality, it's overeat, overdrink, overstress, overspend, over whatever, over debt. And in turn, we stress ourselves out and then we get sick. And trees are no different. It's when they have environmental stressors, when they have man-made stressors, etc., that's when they tend to come in and these fungal pathogens take over. So every tree in the forest at some point had a stressor. It had a drought period, whatever, where it got to a point where the tree got stressed and pathogens came in. Totally normal. However, as long as they're doing well health-wise and vitality, we call it vigor, the rate of growth. Vitality is more of the health of the tree. Vigor is the rate of growth. As long as their vitality and their vigor are high, they can outgrow that, and they will essentially wall it off. We call it coat it, or compartmentalization of decay in trees, coat it. And so there's your biology, plant tree biology lesson for the day. But yeah, as long as it's not going to come crashing down on you and your family, I say let it be, and just enjoy it. Hopefully it stays up in the air, and if it can, then you got a 100-year-old tree in Zone 8A. Those will last forever up there. Those red maples, sugar maples, whatever it is. But hope that helps, Land, and we are moving on. Eckert says, where you at, Eckert? No idea. Hello, we have this lovely tree in our front yard. Recently, we noticed that the leaves on the inside of the canopy wilted and turned brown. The outside looks healthy with new leaves. Greater New York area. There we go. That's answered my question right there. If I could just read. Tree is standing to the east and south of my house. Very good. That's actually very beneficial and helpful. Any idea on what's going on and what to do? Good root flares. That's what we want to see, you guys. We want to see those big, beautiful root flares there. I don't know. I really don't know, Eckert. You do have power lines running through there. That's probably not helpful. And utility lines, etc. That could be a part of the problem, but honestly, I have to have more context and more information to really be able to identify it. That to me looks like a Japanese maple, actually, not a red maple. Excuse. Yeah. Yeah, Lucas brings up a pretty good point. He's thinking maybe soil compaction. That's kind of what I'm wondering. Um, I don't have a lot to go off to identify that, but that would be my best guess. Yeah. Yeah. So you got some lights here. You got some. It looks like the grass is maybe a little compacted as well. You can see how it's growing real short. Some people cut it that way and maintain it like that. Okay, what's the difference? Or like, how can you tell? What do you mean, JK? I'm not understanding. I talk too much. I said a lot of things there. I don't know. To clarify that a little bit, I'd love to answer. Yeah, Lucas was saying, and I kind of looking at it now a second time, I kind of agree. You've got maybe some soil issues where it's compacted. You get the lights here, and the grass seems a little bit compacted. Maybe that's what you're asking, JK. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So if you notice how the blades are kept really, really short, most grass. Oh, between Japanese maple and the other type. Oh yeah. Just the leaf type. It could be like a no, it's not Shantung. Shantung maple has that kind of I hate to say it, but marijuana shaped leaf. So does the Japanese maple. And Japanese maple are really really cool trees. They seem to do well here, and they're not really invasive, so I don't have a problem with them. But they've got that really kind of petite, beautiful leaf, and you could see it here perfectly. But a lot of the red maples. Let's see if we can pull up a picture. Japanese maple versus red maple. Red maple is kind of the classic Canada leaf. Uh, okay, so that's like a lace bark type red Japanese maple. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Hello. What were you saying, Lucas? Oh, that's funny. Oh. So if you see kind of the almost like a trident type leaf, you've got three main lobes, and then you've got some serrated lobes in between there. But that's mostly that's a red maple right there. Trident maples are in the same family. Silver maples have these crazy looking. Sugar maples and red maples are more the Canadian flag type maples, if you will. And then it says coral bark here, but honestly, that is more of a lace bark. Not lace bark, but a Japanese maple style. Who's calling me? Hold on. I'll call you later, Martin. So you can kind of see the difference here. Japanese maple is just a really unique style. They've got a really smooth bark, very elegant trees, but they're also very sensitive trees. They're one of my favorites, but they're really hard to maintain here in Texas. You go up north. I remember my wife and I kind of went off the deep end. We sold our business in Dallas and we moved to New Jersey of all places, and we kind of traveled. Yeah. Silver maples are great. Again, they're quick lived and they don't last very long. Sugar maples have the really big gaudy leaves, and lace bark or Japanese maples rather are awesome. But it was really fascinating to me. So we move up to Jersey, and I'm driving around in northwestern New Jersey, and I see all of these really beautiful trees, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, wait a minute. I think that's a Japanese maple. Now, here's what's crazy. Japanese maple in Texas, they get maybe 10, 15, 20 feet tall, real thin, real spindly branches and trunks. Up there, these are trees. These are like 30, 40 foot tall and same width trees. And I was like, wait a minute, is that a Japanese maple? So I started asking the locals, and sure enough, they just have great growing conditions up there. Here in Texas, it gets too hot, they get too burned up, and they don't last very long. So it's unfortunate because they're really gorgeous trees. I especially like some of the lace bark. Let's see. Crimson Queen. There we go. Check out this one, y'all. Gorgeous, gorgeous little trees. And they got these guys that come in and they do all kinds of genetic hybridization and all that. And I'm not a huge fan of playing God, but man, some of the trees that come out with are just beautiful. So, Japanese maple is a great tree. But if you want a tree that's easy to maintain, do not plant a Japanese maple unless you live in New Jersey, apparently. So, hope that helps. And we are moving on. Yeah, I think back to your question, Eckert. I think you got some compacted soil, just a generally stressed tree, but I'm not sure exactly. That could even be something like squirrels coming in and causing those and chewing on those branches. But main thing is just leave it alone, let it grow, and hope that helps. Moving on. Jay's asking from Monument, Colorado. Hello, I have a maple tree another maple in my front yard. one of those bifurcations, there is what appears to be an infection. Yes. What are any thoughts? Yes, I got thoughts. I always got thoughts. Not always that they're good thoughts, but they're always there. You've got, this looks to be almost what we call nectria canker. And nectria implies like necrosis, necromancer, whatever the root word is, necro. Nectria canker is essentially it unalives the tissue, tree grows around, unalives the tissue, tree grows around. And so what you wind up with is this kind of bullet-shaped tissue damage. And it's not a big deal in and of itself. Usually most trees are able to live with it. But you'll get kind of this, let's say you got like a little part here, and then the tree grows around it. And then you got more necrosis, more growth. And so you wind up with like this kind of bullet-shaped, probably can't say bullet on phase 2 either, can I? Stupid algorithms. I'm just going to ask for forgiveness versus permission on that one. But anyways, you get that kind of like that bullet shape, that target shaped unalive back pattern. And so it's not ideal, but as long as it's not in a structural part of the tree, it's really not a big deal. However, this is in a structural part of the tree. You have a very narrow branch union. You've got like a V shape versus a U shaped. Do that. Everybody do that with me. You can see me here. So this is a strong branch union. This is a very weak branch union. And the reason is because on a normal branch, what's happening on a cellular level is you get these rings that grow around it. And so the tree is literally enveloping itself on a cellular level. Whereas whenever you've got those V-shaped branch unions, what's happening is the fibers are growing the same direction. And typically you'll get like, we call it a codominant lead. And so what happens is whenever the wind blows and it starts bifurcating, you use the right word, that's a textbook word that we would use in the industry, is essentially when the wind blows and the elements come, what can happen is that can just rip off and you lose half of your tree. So what you may want to do is come in here with like a threaded rod. And you're going to have a local professional. You can have somebody bolt it here and then put a cable up top. And what that does is it basically just makes the tree move together instead of separating as the wind blows. And so hopefully that helps. But yeah, you've got a little bit of a fungal pathogen there. I'm not really concerned about that, but I am a little concerned with the structure of that tree overall. That's a codominant lead and a codominant tree. And you got to do something to shore it up, to strengthen it, and make sure it doesn't split. And you wake up one morning with half your tree on the ground. That's no good. Moving on. Andrew Shaw's asking, where you at, Andrew? I didn't see that. No idea. Colorado. Any idea what's going on with my white swamp oak? It's a little over 10 years old. Last year thriving. This year it looks like only a quarter of the leaves have fully developed, and it's July. Most leaves are kind of shriveled. Yep. That is textbook herbicide damage. You see the chlorosis. You see the curling and the wilting leaves like that. Ugh, that's so gross. Herbicides often, there it is, textbook herbicide damage. Who was that, Norman or Robert? Who was saying that? Yeah, Norman. Oh, legend. Thanks for being here, Norman. Really appreciate that. Tree guys are different breed, by the way, y'all. Look at this. Let's pull it up. You see that? Every tree guy's got a picture like this where you got somebody up in the tree and just craziness going on there. So there's no brush down below there. That's a sketchy place to be in the tree world. There's no tie-in up above, and he's just out on a limb there, literally. And so that's the joke, is tree guys go out on a limb for you. But he's absolutely spot on. You got herbicide damage here, and that's what's causing those weird shaped leaves. Is essentially the herbicide is messing with the hormones. And so as the tree's growing and developing and putting off those new leaves, its hormones are disrupted. So the question is, can it recover? And Norman's answer is it could, which is, I love that. It's a very safe and good answer. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give you these links right here, buddy. And feel free to purchase them from me, or you can find them on Amazon, whatever. I don't care. I honestly don't even make a lot of money off of this stuff, but it would go a long ways into just really helping the tree grow and thrive. So give it a shot. Spend, what, $70 or plus shipping or whatever, and see if that'll help. But a lot of these are going to just essentially feed the beneficial microbes in the soil, and a lot of those will actually eat the herbicide. So I'm kind of agreeing with Norman. You got just an empty space here. Nice, well manicured landscaping, which usually is indicative of problems. So lawn guys probably came in here and sprayed the daylights out of this, hoping that it would just make their job easier, and because they don't have to pull weeds now. And the tree's suffering as a result. So don't spray chemicals that you don't understand around your trees, y'all. Very bad idea. All right, we're moving on. Hope that helps, Andrew. Let me know if we can help any further. All right, Scott and Tommy is asking, oh, what's up? Houston, Texas, my neighbor. All right, anyone know what could be going on with this tree? It belongs to my friend. This is in Houston, Texas. Thanks so much. All right, so let's talk. Cindy is saying, looks like some kind of borer. I had to remove 3 weeping willows because of the willow borer. I'd be careful to say that. I didn't see that specifically. Let's go on to the comments and see what else. Girdling root indicates that this tree probably gets irrigation overspray, which coupled with mechanical damage from mower string trimmers will cause decay. Well, it'll introduce. So I agree with that, Jensen. That's great advice. Who are you, Jensen? I don't know you, Jensen. You're in Fullerton, California. We got to talk, man. Are you an arborist or what? Talk to me. All right. Looks like some kind of borer. Let's take a look at it a little closer and see what we got. This appears to be a live oak. We have a lot of live oaks here. I do see the typical herbicide damage on the live oak. Look at all that weed-free yard, y'all. It's so beautiful. Tree, let's struggling a little. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, I do agree. You've got some kind of damage there where yeah, that's pretty significant, especially when it's on the opposing side. Now, here's the good thing: is a live oak actually holds most of their strength on the compression wood. So trees leaning like this, most deciduous trees, and live oaks are deciduous. They lose their leaves in the spring versus the fall. They always lose their leaves without fail. Hold on. Been talking too much, y'all. I'm parched. Most deciduous trees hold their strength on the tension side or the back side. So if you've got a limb, it's going to be on the top side of the limb. If you've got a leaning tree, it's on the back side of the lean. Live oaks actually hold a good portion of theirs on the compression. So that's got to be... That's funny. That's got a very legalese way to respond. Yeah, I have to be careful, JK. Whenever I'm talking about these things, I absolutely have to be careful because, quite frankly, this can be misquoted and misrepresented in a court of law. And y'all can go in and say, well, Matt Latham told me. And here's the thing. I'm a consultant. So that can be taken the wrong way. And so, yes, I have to be very careful with how I phrase things because I do expert witness. I don't want to ruin my reputation in the industry or otherwise. And I have to be careful. So hopefully that's what you're in reference to. But back to Scott and Tommy's. So on the tension side, if this were a red oak, I might be very concerned because I remember on the back side, on the opposite side of that is the house. Yes. Now I do see really good. Oh yeah, I see those girdling roots. Yep, you got to get rid of those, Scott and Tommy. That's got to go for sure. Yeah, and JK, I do, I carry errors and omissions insurance, professional insurance is what they call it. And so generally I'm indemnified, whatever that means. So basically if I say too much or say something stupid and it gets somebody in trouble, I'm covered. Also, I don't ever want to have to call them. That's lame. That's terrible. So I just try to dot my I's and cross my T's, and anything I say and do can and will be used against me in a court of law. That's how it goes. And we're here live on the interwebs, y'all. So yeah, I see girdling roots galore. I do see good healing tissue there. You want to get that spray away from the trunk for sure. I agree with Jensen's. I think that was Jensen that said that. Who was that? Cindy. Yeah. No. Jensen. Yeah. Irrigation overspray. I agree. Girdling roots. I agree. You probably got some irrigation overspray, and I think that led to some fungal pathogens. So I think that's what's going on here. So just correct those things and give it some extra resources. Again, this is a great product. No, I want this one. This is a really great product right here. That should help go a long ways towards healing and sealing that wound there. All right. Cole's asking, I would appreciate some quick advice. Well, we're 3 days late. I'm sorry, Cole. I'm sorry. I hope everyone's enjoying the Monday night. I've got a job coming up involving the removal of some hanging branches of our neighbor's yard. I want to make sure I'm pricing it fairly and competitively. Would anyone mind taking a moment to share your thoughts on what a reasonable charge could be for this kind of work? Well, I know what I would charge. It's probably too much. But no, I don't. I can't answer that honestly. You've got to decide how much do you need to make per hour to justify your insurance expenses, your labor expenses, your general business overhead, your marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think you're charging enough, you're probably not, buddy. That's what I've learned, anyways. Is if you're going to do professional things, you've got to charge professional rates. So I wonder though if you're professional, honest, and I'm not trying to be rude here, Cole, but if you're asking what I should charge price wise, then you probably shouldn't be doing that kind of work because, quite frankly, trees are dangerous, hazardous, whatever you want to call it. And I've got friends in this industry that are unalived because of this industry. We are currently the number one mortalityist industry in the U.S., number 3 overall in the world. And check this out, y'all. I don't know if y'all can see this here. This can you see my scar here? Oh, I'm gonna get in there. Can you see it, or is it just terrible? I've got a big scar right in here, and I think it's just not gonna view it very quickly, very easily. But that was the 3rd tree I ever climbed, and I was cutting one-handed with a chainsaw, which I should not have been. And it was a dull chain. The limb swung, hit the butt end of the saw. It knocked it right into my hand, and I looked down. There's my parts all over the ground. So it's a very hazardous industry. And if you got to ask how much, I would say you're probably, I can kind of see it. Yeah. Maybe I'll post a picture later on, but it's not pretty. I mean, trees are hazardous. Whatever you're working with spinning saws and you're at height, it poses a hazard. Now, personally, and this is like off the record, this is like totally off subject, but I would want to see my industry regulated. And I know that's a dirty word in my industry because it's the Wild West in tree care. You can do whatever you want and get away with it. And that's a great thing. But I think too many people just get into trouble because of that. So plumbers are regulated. Electricians are regulated. Contractors are regulated. Why in God's green earth do we not have tree guys regulated? Because it is the most hazardous thing that I know how to do. Other than electricity. Electricity scares me, but they have regulations and their numbers pale in comparison to our mortality numbers. So if y'all are planning on doing trees yourself, I've got friends who have widowed clients because they chose to do it on their own. So just stay away from it. If you got to get on the ladder, you got to get it high, just call a professional. And it's not even worth your life and your family to suffer. So there's my soapbox for the day. We're moving on. Corey's asking, best neem oil recommended to save my beautiful American arborvitae from red spider outbreak. Any more advice would be very much appreciated. Thank you in advance. I'm in zone 3A if that helps. Ooh, 3A. Way in the great north. Best neem oil, I like Monterey. That, why did it do that? Don't do that. I can't type freaking brand. This is crazy, Facebook. You don't get to control me. Monterey brand. So hope that helps. We're moving on. Acephate is actually a really good miticide as well, and it's relatively mild. Ace Jet is one brand from Arbor Jet. But hope that helps. And we're moving on. Okay, we have a couple large unalived branches on our tree. We noticed branches of missing bark, possibly insect marks. We had emerald ash borers unalive. A neighboring tree that was taken down last year in Ontario. Is this the same problem? Absolutely not, Kate. That is a sycamore, and emerald ash borer only goes, thank God, only goes for ash trees. So you are good. you definitely have some sort of boring insect in there. So you might want to get a closer look. I'm not sure specifically what it is, but there's some things you can do to upgrade the health of the tree. And you might need some, like a professional arborist to come in, do some trunk injections or something like that to suppress the beetles. But I will say this is that seems to be isolated to this one portion of the tree, and it looks like it's recovering. So I see good signs. I also see definitely some borers. So you got some borers, definitely not emerald ash borer. So hope that helps. We're moving on. Oh, let me give you this link too, because this would be a good one. We could always get on a digital arborist consulting consultation and figure out exactly what's going on. So let me give you this link as well. And if you want, I'm happy to get on a call with you and we can take a closer look and see what's going on and really try to pinpoint this down and get a good plan moving forward. So hope it helps, Kate. Moving on. Wendy's asking, not 100% sure, but we think some type of elm tree. That is a lace bark elm, by the way. Those are beautiful trees. Also, Chinese hybrid, semi-invasive in the area, depending on who you ask and where you are. Wondering if we should be concerned about this large vertical crack on the trunk. Noticed it after Hurricane Helene came through last year and seemed to worsen over the winter. We live in North Florida, so the winter isn't extreme by no means. Any ideas or suggestions would be welcome. That happened before Hurricane Helene. This was a manufacturer's defect. They should have pruned this a long time ago, or structurally supported that limb, because you do have a very structurally weak tree there. So sorry for the bad news, but if you plan it out right and you get the right structural support system in place, you can actually support that. So again, I'm going to give you my link here, and we can really pinpoint this down and get a good plan together. I'd love to help with that. So essentially, I remediated an issue like this on tree areas with a long drill bit, ready rod washers, and lock nuts. Yeah, that's called bracing. Yes, brace rods, also end weight reduction on the structure on the branch. Yes, absolutely. Structural pruning is what you want to do. You want to do a little structural pruning and then structural support system. That is a Chinese not Chinese elm. Yeah, Chinese elm is another word for it, but lace bark elm is another term for it. Looks like bark inclusion to me. Kinda, yeah. To help prevent a future failure along that crack, structural pruning will help reduce load. Look at these freaking legends out there. Jensen, we got to talk, bro. Shoot me a message. It's here, I'm going to just do this. This would likely entail reduction and removal cuts at the periphery of each codominant branch. Also, continue documenting and taking pictures, photos to compare them over time to see how the crack progresses. Yes, I'm going to combine Lindsay Purcell's. By the way, Lindsay is an absolute legend in the industry. I know I say this, and hopefully one day we'll actually get on the phone together, Lindsay. But he teaches the same stuff that I'm teaching y'all right now, but to industry professionals also. So, and I do too. I'm a part of a group called Arborist Institute, and I do CEUs for arborists and things like that. But quite frankly, tree guys are stubborn, and I don't like teaching tree guys. I like teaching you guys. So y'all keep showing up and showing off. Y'all are an awesome audience, and I love doing these little conversations we have each Thursday. So carry on. But yeah, structural support system, little structural pruning, and I think you got a great tree, and you could probably keep that around another 10 years plus. Hope that helps there, Wendy. And we're moving on. Toby's asking, Central Arkansas discovered this area of my oak tree in the immediate area, hollowish sounding. Good, you're sounding the wood. That is a very good thing. I teach that with using a rubber mallet to just basically tap on the wood, see if there's any decay. That's a good way to test it. Tried to get a picture of the insect found where the bark came off easily. What, if anything, can I do for my tree? I haven't the slightest, dude. I need better pictures. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. Ooh, that's not pretty. Got a good there. Those look like ant eggs to me, so I'm not too worried about that. But if they're not, let me know. You definitely got. Oh, that's bark on the ground. I see. Okay, I got it. I'm putting the pieces together. Yeah, so it almost looks like you've got some sort of serious fungal pathogen that has begun the decay process, and that's why the bark's flaking off. The borers, it looks like, are just taking advantage of that. So You've got a double problem here, but yeah, Cindy's saying some kind of borer. Eventually, the tree will unalive. I had them on my weeping willow and had a bunch of sawdust at the base. The bark started turning black and falling off, so I had it removed. Yeah, I'm wondering, man. I think we'd have to get on a consult, on a digital arborist consult, and really check that out up close and personal, and see what's going on. But yeah, I really can't tell and give you solid advice with just the pictures you provided. This one's the best one of anything because I can see a little bit of the background there, but I really need a little bit more solid of a picture because I have no idea what's back in this area right here. So, anyways, hope that helps, man. I'm sorry I'm not better advice. I just need a little more info. All right, Cindy, you're rocking and rolling on this. I love it. Have you checked for bagworms or cankers? Okay, let me go back to the question. David's asking, will these trees recover? Leyland cypress trees on a slope in my southern border, which I refer to as Cypress Hill. I love it. Here in Middle Tennessee. They were full and nice until Christmas of 22 when we had sub-zero temperatures for about a week. Unalived back quite a bit in that freeze, especially around the bottom, and they're no longer much of a privacy screen, which is a lot of the value in those trees, obviously. You know that. Started transplanting things to the fence like vines, hydrangeas, and butterfly bushes to pick up their slack because I'm starting to lose hope they'll bounce back. Is there anything I could do to help them? Yes, but here's the problem with that is you've got a border tree. These are a shared use tree. I wonder the same that Cindy's asking. Leyland cypress. All right, check this out, y'all. So Ceridium canker is a really big problem, and I think it's in. Yeah, I spelled it wrong. Sorry. Is it in Central Tennessee? Why is my interweb so slow? Yeah, I'm wondering if that's not Ceridium, man. What's that? Gremlins? Lucas saying gremlins are stealing my internet. That's why it's so bad. Yeah, Central Tennessee. Did you say Central or North? Middle Tennessee. Okay, Central, Middle. It's all the same, right? By the way, so cool. Thanks for sending that video. That is actually really, really, really helpful. That gives me a full scale drone perspective of what's going on here. And y'all, if you can do kind of this kind of stuff, that really helps us out. Give us a full scale picture. You can even see a little bit in the interior. I'm really wondering if you don't have Ceridium canker. That's one of those you're going to have to get diagnoses for. And so hit up your local ag extension. You want to send some samples to them and let them help you diagnose it. And that is going to be your best bet, I believe, on that. But to me, it looks like possible Ceridium canker. It's very possible you got bagworms or some sort of canker, but the canker would be Ceridium, if anything. Let's see. No, this is damage from that heart freeze at all. It happened all at once and did not spread. Good, good. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, freezing leylands. The problem is when trees get used to a certain location and then something happens that changes the normal, everyday, ordinary circumstances that the tree is used to, just like humans. I'm dealing with that right now. Things are changing in my life, and I'm mostly just getting old, y'all. And that's part of it. And they're going to take a little bit of more of a beating than, so let's say if you just plant them in way up in the great north. The trees are very adaptable, but when you do change things and you get a hard freeze or something like that where you don't normally have that, then that can most certainly cause some damage. But I'm actually kind of wondering if you do have some sort of a canker, maybe Ceridium. Maybe try to make sure the soil dries out before re-irrigating. Unfortunately, those branches that you're seeing that have unalived, they won't grow back. You might, on a very small, slim chance, get a little bit of regrowth. But to me, it almost looks like the freeze exacerbated the Ceridium. But I would definitely take some tissue samples, send them off to your local ag extension. I get those two words mixed up so often, y'all. And see if they can help you identify that. To me, it looks like Ceridium, spot on. But I could be wrong. And like I said, I understand that, like, whenever you get unaliving from freezing, that can definitely put a toll on them. So anyways, hope that helps, man. I'm sorry you're dealing with that, but yeah, that is what it is. All right. So Nia is asking it. Need help saving my trees. Does anybody know what I can do to safely get rid of this black coating on my tree? I already scrubbed it, but I want to stop it before it spreads fully or to the others nearby. Any product recommendations or advice would be really appreciated. Scrubbing those trees is not going to help you. Trees do not need to be cleaned, no less than our insides need to be cleaned. Like we have to obviously put good things in, but you're not going to go out and like scrub your grass. You don't need to scrub your trees either. I don't mean to sound snarky in you. That's just is what it is. There's actually a guy out there that's going around and he's pressure washing trees to make them pretty or whatever. And I'm just like, it's a big joke in the industry, and it has been for 10 years now. Y'all remind me, guys, but I think it's like cleanmytrees.com or something like that. And the dude literally goes around. He's like, look, see how pretty it is, but quite frankly, you're destroying that ecosystem. Yeah, JK, they unfortunately they won't grow back. Deciduous trees are different than conifers, and so let me go back to that. Actually, I'm going to go back to that here in just a second, JK, because I want to finish this one. But so scrubbing it is not going to help. I know that can be like tempting, but really we want to let trees grow and thrive, because just like you and I have an ecosystem in our body, in our stomachs, in our skin, etc. If you scrub too much, you'll actually wind up doing more harm than good. That was why I was really against all those hand sanitizers during the COVID nonsense. And I know, like, I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be rude. Like, I know there were some serious problems that people dealt with in their lives. Like, for example, my own mom has long COVID, has for a long time. She's been dealing with it for like 3 years now. And so I'm not trying to make light of that by any means, but I think people went overboard and they start putting hand sanitizer and everything. Well, we got bacteria that's good on our hands. So when you go and just kill that or unalive that, excuse me, and then you go to the next store and you unalive it again. And then you go to the next store and you unalive it again. Then you unalive it, unalive it. You're destroying the beneficials along with the pathogens. And so, yes, you suppress it. But then when the pathogens come in and you don't have any of the good guys that can come in and eat the pathogens and suppress the pathogens, what you wind up is what we call pest resurgence in the tree care industry. And you see this all the time in agriculture. They'll come in and they'll spray all this pesticide everywhere and do it over and over and over again for decades. And then something comes in and all of a sudden it gets resistant to all those chemicals. And we see it in humans too. You get antibiotic resistant bacteria. Same thing. So you'll get one little pest that'll come in and now you spray it all you want. It's not going to unalive. And all of a sudden it has no pests of its own. So the pest just comes in and wipes out everything. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. So the same thing happens. So don't scrub that anymore. What I want you to do is get this stuff and right here. This is good. And this stuff, I think the black is a foliar, or not a foliar, but an exterior fungal pathogen. It could be bacteria as well. Either way, these two, you do have to get some molasses to mix with the Microlife antifungal. I do love this stuff, but you can even just, not this stuff. Hold on. This stuff, yes. This is an amazing product. And if you mix all three of these together and spray it on there, you're just going to create a really healthy ecosystem. And this one in particular, the AF stands for antifungal, is actually a series of mostly trichoderma, which is the one that has most of the research done on it. But a lot of these bacteria, they're actually doing research to find that they're heterotrophic, meaning they consume everything but themselves. And so what that means is they will actually go to work and consume any fungal or bacteria pathogens that's causing that. To me, it looks like you've got maybe a birch. What is that? I don't even know. I can't tell with the pictures. Try to send me some more pictures too that are a little more clear. What is that black stuff? I think it's bacterial, JK. I think. I don't know. And obviously, you've probably heard me talk about it multiple times. You want actual lab diagnosis and confirmation. That's really, really key. What is that in the Hippocratic Oath? They say Hippocrates, I think, was quoted as saying, prescription without diagnosis is indeed malpractice. So when you get guys go on there, and I was having an argument with a Reddit guy the other day. He's like, "Oh, it's black canker." It's like, well, first of all, did you get lab analysis on that, or are you just speculating? Like, second of all, I understand, but the guy had herbicide that was sprayed. We know that herbicide was sprayed. We know 10 days later it caught the tree starts to unalive, and you're sitting here telling me that it was black canker of willows. Great, that's cool, and I understand. I had to do a little research on that because I didn't know that one very well. Turns out that's a stressor. That's not a mortality type fungal pathogen, and it's just a minor thing, y'all. And so he's over there diagnosing this from halfway across the world, maybe on Reddit. It's like, yo, try that in a court of law. That's not going to stand up. So JK had a really great question. They won't grow back. Let's go over a little tree biology. Yes. So on deciduous trees, they will grow back. And that's a great question, JK. So let's get back to the drawing board a little bit because this is really, really important, y'all. So this is uh, deciduous trees have what are called latent buds. Latent buds are these little dormant buds, and there's millions or billions, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands, maybe, all throughout the trunk. So you've probably seen, hopefully not you, but maybe your neighbors come in and they have somebody that charged them, that came knocking on their door and they're like, "Hey, I'll cut your trees for $100," and they got teeth missing or whatever. And they come in and they just gut the middle of the tree and they cut all the growth in the middle. And then all of a sudden you get these little sprouts grow all over. And like a week later, it looks like you did not pay $100 or whatever to get your tree trimmed. So those are latent buds. They're kind of in case of emergency buds, if you will. So the tree gets stressed out. It needed those leaves and it puts them back there. Latent buds are very quick and easy to grow. And they're usually packed full of up to 10 times the amount of carbohydrates as regular tree cells. So that's a deciduous tree. Conifers don't have those. So that's why it's so important. You don't ever prune, especially pines. You don't ever lion's tail them out. You don't ever prune the stuff in the middle. All that stuff will unalive naturally on its own. It'll fall off as the tree no longer needs it. So you don't ever want to prune the interior and remove things in the middle because those pine needles are much smaller and they don't have the surface area that a deciduous leaf does. Most of them anyways. And so what that means, they don't have the surface area to capture the sunlight. So they need all of those pine needles, all of those spruce needles, cedar, whatever it is. They need those. And so, yes, unfortunately, a leyland cypress, whenever all of that middle growth starts to unalive, it unfortunately will not regrow. So we have to treat deciduous trees very differently than we do conifer trees or evergreen trees, however you want to call them. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way they're genetically programmed. And, each tree has a purpose and a place. And that's just one of their little caveats, just like humans are weak in some areas, whereas lions are not, or whatever, or Nephilim are not, like trees have certain weaknesses. And that's why we find certain trees in some parts of the world and other trees in other parts of the world. And usually they don't mix until you get like crepe myrtles come in and they just wipe out and take over everything. But another story altogether, y'all. All right. So Anonymous was asking, wonder if anybody would know about Irish sycamore trees. Cows chewed on the bark off. That stinks. A while back, looking to see how to revive it. Ooh, I see way more of a compaction / maybe Botrosphaeria type canker. Yes. Glad I could help, JK. That's a great question. As always, you're spot on. Thank you for contributing so much, by the way. Yeah, so cows, you already told us, Anonymous, you got cows in here. What I'm thinking is this is less of a bark chewed problem and more of a compacted soil, anaerobic, overall extreme stress type of situation here. And I'll give you a very similar circumstance I had. I wish I had the pictures I could pull up. But basically, buffalo. The guy had buffalo. Super cool. And we don't have a lot of those here. So he had all these buffalo, and he had like 15 or something like that. And the buffalo were all all 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of them were stomping all around the tree, all around there. Yeah, they chewed on it. They kind of bumped up against it with their little horns and roughed it up a little bit. But that was not the big problem. The big problem was we had to get that soil compacted. So we did. We used like 8 times the normal concentration of calcium and humic acid, and we wound up preserving the trees. We did wind up having to remove a lot of the dead, unalive tissue. Excuse me. Sorry, Lucas. And face webs. He said it's okay. I'm glad you forgive me. I don't know what I'd do without you. You know? So the Buffaloes came in and they really did a number on that. So I think you're probably dealing with the same. Is check that soil to make sure it's not compacted too much, and hopefully that helps. And we're moving on. Uh, Irish sycamore. That looks like a maple to me, man. Is that? I don't know if you're in Ireland and maybe you got a certain type of maple that they call Irish sycamore. Maybe it's. Oh, isn't there a sycamore maple? What's an Irish maple or Irish sycamore? Acer, yep, that's a maple. Tree native to Central and Southern Europe that has become widespread and common in Ireland. It's a large deciduous tree with 5 lobed leaves. Similar to other maple species, while not native to Ireland, it was introduced centuries ago and is now the second most common hedgerow tree after the ash. Cool! Even us pros learned something here and there. That's exciting. All right. Hope that helps, man. And we are moving on. What is this? All right. So Angie's asking, any idea what would cause this? We're having work done on our bulkhead, but that's good 40 feet from the tree. Ooh. Angie, I'm going to need some better pictures here. I don't know exactly what is causing that because that is like the least bit of information I can imagine for trying to diagnose. Do me a favor, send me a little bit more information, Angie, and maybe some better pictures. Send me some up close and personal shots of it. Let me see. Facewebs.com. I know my wife had posted a pinned post. Ask an Arborist. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to copy this link. How do I copy it? Hello. I love that. Share. Yeah, and I don't mean to sound rude when I say this, y'all, but I can't diagnose things without the right pictures. So check out this and see if you can kind of follow those rules there, and give me some better pictures and tell me a little bit more background on what's going on. But yeah, construction, worst thing you can do for a tree is construction. It's so common to see trees that are constructed on or around, all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 years down the road start to just unalive like crazy. And then they're like, I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, you did 3, 4, 5 years ago. You didn't. The contractors did. I see that so often. Anytime you're doing construction, PS, industry secret, trade pro secret here, call an arborist anytime you plan on doing construction. I'll give you a great example is, let's see if I can pull this up here. I have a company that works with me in Houston, and let's see, he emailed me. No, not that. So many emails, y'all. He emails me this morning and he says, what do we do about this? I got to make sure that I'm not disclosing information here too. Okay, so this is responsible construction, y'all. And I love this when people do this. So I get a message from Mr. Humphreys here. Y'all don't look at that, whatever. I can't block it. There we go. Okay, I've got my architect on the CMO as well. Regarding the area where we are expanding the pavement into the crepe myrtles, we're going to need to push 18 inches east, which puts us right against the trunk of at least one of these trees. Do you have a recommendation on how we should approach expanding that way, either method or means? If you could provide a typical detail, we can have our civil engineer add it to the plans that we're going to submit to the city. Okay, so here's the crepe myrtles. This is on a commercial high-rise here in construction, very well-known area, very prestigious area. and they love their trees. They've got these crepe myrtles there that are like 50 years old, and they create like this cool alley of effect around the parking lot where people park their cars. They want to come out to cool cars and not hot cars when they're visiting. This is the visitor area. They have their own parking garage too. But so he shows me a map of exactly where they're going to expand it. Right here, there's your crepe myrtles right in here. And he's like, hey, what do we do about this? Well, guess what, you guys? I got a solution. Check this out, y'all. So you can see here, not a lot of room to grow. And that is right at 18 inches, right touching the trunk of that tree. Big problem. And ordinarily, everybody else would say, get them out of here. They're all going to unalive or whatever. But not me. Let me do my pen. Here we go. So here's what we can do with that. And this is one of the great things about hiring a consulting arborist is what we can do is called root bridging. So he's got a curb right here. Now the roots obviously have grown under there, and there's a roadway here. There's a car tire. Just make a little car here. That's the worst car ever, y'all. But whatever, you get the point. So parking lot here, you got a crepe myrtle here. They're coming in, and they're going to actually run up into the trunk of that tree. What do we do? Well, fortunately, there is a brilliant technique that was some of my predecessors have come up with called root bridging. What we can do is we can actually bolt steel plates onto this area, and then we can pour the concrete right on top of it. So now what we've done is essentially we haven't done anything except put a couple little bolt holes here to those roots. That plate's going to sit right on top of it. The concrete gets to be poured, and the tree is just happy as a lark. Now, here's what's brilliant about that is as the tree and the roots start to push up, what they're going to do is they're going to be pushing up against themselves because of those bolts there. And so what happens is what we're finding is the roots grow out instead of up. Now, I haven't seen the research for it. I would love for some of you all out there that do research, some of you universities and such, to figure out if there's an actual difference. But because of that widening of the actual root plate, because they're not growing up, they're growing only out, does that actually strengthen the tree and leave it more strong when it comes to blowing the whole tree over? I don't know. I got my thoughts and opinions on the matter. I don't know, but I'd love to find out. Let me give you just a couple, because this is really cool stuff. I love this kind of creative problem solving. And I think I just sent myself some. I don't know where that is, y'all. Hold on. I know I just sent that to myself. I'm not finding it. But, oh, that's right. I downloaded it. Okay, that's where it is. Cool. Make sure I'm not giving you all any sensitive information. Nothing personal. I do have to keep some of my stuff very discreet because I do, like I said, expert witness work. All right, here we go. This is okay. I can show you all this. So this is root bridging right here. This has been tried and true, and it actually freaking works, y'all. It's amazing. This is like, we've got 9, 10, 15, 16 years of research now where guys have done this. And what we're finding is it actually flipping works. It's so cool. So this is not my work. This is just somebody else that I know, a friend of mine, that is doing cool things in the tree world and really, okay, here we go. On several, you can go to my YouTube channel and find out several projects that we've done where we did root bridging. And so you can kind of see here, here's the roots on I believe that was a Chinese elm. You can see a little bit of marring and stuff like that from the contractors. Not ideal, but it happens. And then here's them covering the roots, and terrible picture quality. You can see they basically just molded the steel plates over it, and then they bolted all along those white stripes there. And then final product is here. Poured the concrete over it. And again, 16 years later, the trees are up in the air. Trees are thriving. Oh, that's right, a London plane tree. Yeah. So a little bit of a swell there. It has to be within ADA compliance. That's American Disability Act. We obviously want to make sure people can roll around and access the place, but we want to make sure we're full compliance there. But they're able to preserve that. And like, why would you tear down a perfectly good tree like that when you can just do some creative problem solving when you're installing a sidewalk? So just shameless self plug here, y'all, but simple stuff like that, and we could really make a difference. But I don't know how I got on that bunny trail, but long story short, whenever you're doing construction around your tree, hit us up on the web here, because we can often, this can be the difference between you have to remove your trees several years later, and they're doing great, they're thriving. I'd love to get y'all on board, and we just do a simple consult from anywhere you are in the world. Just do a digital arborist consultation, figure out exactly what's going on. All right, we're moving on. Sorry, that was a long story short, Angie. Hope that helps, though. Or short story long, rather. All right, 12 to 15 foot tulip poplar. I swear it looks like it's sunk. Is that possible? Yes. Yeah, depending on how they planted it. But if it's 12 to 15 foot, it was probably planted a little while back. Clay soil, compacted and wet. Should I cut some of these roots? Absolutely. You got to get rid of those girdling roots. Yep. Absolutely. That's a long story short, is you got to get rid of the girdling roots. I would not worry about tying it up. Okay, good. It's sturdy now, but the roots look like they're girdling. We have clay soil, so compacted and wet. Use this stuff to break up the compaction. Where are you at, Microlife? This stuff. No, this stuff. I swear I'll get to it. That's going to really help. I like using available calcium as well. That's very beneficial, but hard to come by. It's like $80 for a pint, and that pint is good for like 1,000 acres or something. You don't need that much, but humic acid is a really great solution as well. That'll help to break up the clay and provide a lot of good resources for all the beneficials. And then let's see, what else was I thinking? Okay, so here's another. Where's that video at? Radial trenching is going to be your best friend here too. So try this radial trenching as well, and you've got to sever those girdling roots. Let's see. Let me look. Hold on. I've got one where I do. Title contains roots. There we go. This is, I like chisel and hammer. You can even get a pair of loppers and just snip sip. By the way, you guys, thank you, all of you for being so much a part of this channel. Check this number out, y'all. 2 weeks ago, we were at 664. Last week, we were at 764. Today, same time, same bat channel, we're at 882. That's like 118, I think. I can't even math right now. 116. And what on earth, you guys? This is awesome. Just thank you. I'm honored that y'all would be a part of this journey with me. Like I said, I started this group just to really help, just help you guys with your trees. Like we do digital consulting all around the world. Sometimes it's just not in budget, and sometimes you just don't know where to look. So we started this little Facebook group, and y'all have just been amazing, and we're so glad to have all of you here with us. But yeah, that's wow, 882. That's unreal to me. I don't know. We might have grown like 3 or 4 more while we're just doing this chat. Okay, so anyways, that's my little tangent. But man, it's such an honor to be here with you guys, and so many of y'all have been just great. One of you is JK. She's been an awesome contributor to this channel, and she's asking here, what's the difference between vertical trenching and radial trenching? So the terms are actually vertical mulching and radial trenching. Radial trenching, and that's a really good question, actually. So let's go ahead and break it down. So radial trenching is, I'm going to do the bird's eye view here. You've got a tree, and it's planted in a hole about the size of its container. That's not great, right? We've talked about that, JK. what you can do is you can actually dig little trenches radiating. That's where the radial part comes in, radiating away from the trunk of the tree, and fill it in with compost, things like that, compost, mulch, etc. So that's radial trenching. Vertical mulching is more, here's a tree, you're drilling holes all around the base of the tree, and you're filling it with vertical with compost, mulch, etc. And so essentially what you're doing, this is kind of like aeration on steroids, is you're creating all these little entry points for oxygen to get in. Now, when you add compost to those holes, essentially that's going to work over time to slowly start to infiltrate the surrounding soil. This is especially good if you've got clay soil or anything like that. So again, here's radial trenching. Oops. And vertical mulching. Both of these, by the way, you go about 6 to 8 inches deep, and you go about 2 inches wide here by 6 inches to 8 inches deep. These you go about 6 to 8 inches deep. And a good 2-inch wide bit is great as well. If you want to go a little bit beefier, you could do like a 3-inch bit. Honestly, if you got a really decent drill, you can take a drill, put a little earth auger bit on the end of it, and drill this yourself. Watch out, don't break your wrists. It is, got to be careful, because sometimes if you're working with a really solid clay, it can be pretty brutal. And I have had it to where it's like, whoa, that was scary. How did my wrists be okay? And now, of course, I have joint and ligament problems, but that could be from 22 years climbing trees. I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, that's a great question, JK. Thanks for asking. And let's move on along. Lucas is saying we'll be going live shortly to catch up, and we did. All right. What is it? Oh, Sarah. Yeah. Okay, so Sarah's asking from New York. Yes, from Rome, New York. Recent storm took one of the main branches of the split V tree. It was knocked off by another tree's fallen limb. That stinks. The city won't take it down since the direction it's leaning doesn't threaten the power lines. Should we have it taken down, or does it look like it will be structurally sound? Nope, it sure doesn't. Sorry, that's an easy one. Not at all. All right, so this doesn't tell me much. I'm assuming this is your tree that you're looking at here, Sarah. Correct me if I'm wrong there, though. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's not ideal. What is that, a linden? I can't tell. River birch? No, it could be a birch. Oh, no. You got so much decay in there. I would definitely get what's called a tree risk assessment on it. You want somebody, and I'm happy to do it as well, Sarah. We can do it digitally, but you really want to make sure that you get a good set of eyes on this, because the tree is leaning towards your house. My first inclination is to say better safe than sorry. You got to either do some serious remediation on the structural integrity of that tree, or you got to consider removing it. But it may be worth doing a tree risk assessment on it and really identifying what are the core issues and how likely is this thing to fall. And it looks to me like if it were to fall, assuming this is the tree, that it's probably going to go right into your house and car, and that's not good. You don't want that. So yeah, first inclination, Sarah, you probably want to get rid of it. But like I said, if you want to take a closer look, I'm happy to help, and we'll get on a good digital arborist consultation. But hope that helps. Moving on. Kristen's asking, hi, this last year's tree looked like it had a wet black stain, sores on it, and now this year it looks dry and cracked. Is it diseased? Yes. How can I help her? Those are two questions, but let's tackle them both. All right. So the bleeding wound cankers is probably what you're describing. That is often associated with a fungal pathogen called Phytophthora, and it's not good. There's a couple of different species of Phytophthora that are absolutely devastating trees. Ooh, that's not good. I mean, you got a good quarter of the tree has been damaged there. So I'm going to say we're probably going to have to take a closer look at it to really identify what's going on. But if you want to just like a blanket, here's what I would do if this were my tree. I would probably start with a couple of these different juices and spraying them on there. All trees are queens. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, trees are very feminine, I think, in a lot of ways, and masculine too in some ways. So I don't know what that means even. This stuff's this stuff's. Uh-oh. I accidentally hit the X button. It almost canceled y'all out. I almost left you guys on accident. And this guy. So I know that's a lot, and really we got to take a closer look at it because I'm overstepping my bounds here. But I think you've got kind of this Phytophthora. If it is Phytophthora, then you're probably going to have to. Oh, don't want to do that either. You're probably going to have it sent off for lab sampling just to confirm. If it is, everybody else is saying you got to get rid of it, but I would check with your local ag extension first. And again, I'm happy to hop on a digital arborist consultation as well and see if we can help out. But yeah, look up. I think you said you were in New York, or was that the last one? Where are you at? It looks like. Oh, we don't know. Yeah, that looks gorgeous. Yeah, I can't really tell. You got some canna lilies. Looks like some mountains back there. I don't know where you're at, but yeah, check with your state's local ag extension and figure out maybe what's going on disease wise. It's definitely diseased. Specifically, I don't know, to be honest. I really don't. Give them a shot, and if it is Phytophthora, all those disease or all those things that I listed are going to be really, really, really helpful and help the tree recover. We're moving on. Hope that helps, Kristen. Arborist / hedge specialist help needed. Hey, I can do that. Our eastern red cedar hedge has completely gotten out of hand on all sides. It's approximately 25 feet tall. Love cedars, but it's now taken over almost half our backyard, as cedars do. Eastern red cedars, they get like 30 feet, 40 feet wide. They get massive. I don't want to have to remove it, but I also want my backyard back, which is fair. So I'm willing to make some tough decisions. Questions: can it still be trimmed back into a manageable flat hedge, or at this point, if it's trimmed back, I'll get one of those horrible empty sections at the bottom. Yeah, probably empty sections. You don't want to go too much beyond the green section on those because, again, going back to our discussion earlier, those eastern red cedars do not have latent buds, so they cannot reproduce that growth if you cut it away and it's gone. Is there a way to trim and reshape it into more of a tree shape that's still attractive? Yeah, that's one option. You could raise it up, but that really kind of sets them up for structural failure later on. So that's certainly not ideal. I would not do that. What I might do is is it time to just remove all or part, start again if I want my backyard back. If you want your backyard back, you're going to want to go with something that stays a lot more compact, like juniper cedars, or what is it called? Oh, I'm drawing a blank on that one. Lawrence cedars? No, that's not right. I don't remember. There's a specific type of cedar. It's a juniper, actually. Thompson juniper, I think it's called. Or Italian cypress. Italian cypresses aren't ideal either, though, because they have some that ceridium canker we were talking about earlier, y'all. Ceridium canker is a nasty, nasty one that can really take a toll on them. What you can do is you can reduce the canopy height slightly, and then use a product called paclobutrazol, which is a tree growth regulator to actually stunt the outward growth and keep it to a more compact shape like that. So, but if you want long-term play, you're probably going to have to get rid of those and plant something a little more compact. And I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news there, but if we can help, let me know. I'm happy to again get on a digital consult with you and get a good plan together. So this one I already answered, so I'm not going to, but man, this is crazy. There was no one at the time this happened. Can anyone tell me based on the pictures what was wrong with this tree? Looked half dead when standing. Here's weather data when it fell. Wind 0 mile per hour, 0 gusts. 6 mile an hour, just sustained. That's nothing. Humidity 93%, humidity 97%. Later on that evening, and that's when it fell. Looks like in the evening, and 6 to 8 mile an hour winds. That's nothing. But here's the thing: if you and I, if our legs go away, are we going to be able to stand? No, of course not. So that's the same thing that happened here. Is you could see here. Let's get a yeah. That is wood decay fungi that has destroyed the structural integrity of that tree. And so even just a 6 mile an hour wind and it just popped right over. Yeah, you could see the white fungal. Yeah, that's what I told him. Was like, wow, you really dodged the bullet on that one, Kai. And wow, I'm really impressed and glad for your family because that could have been very bad. Sure, you got to call the car insurance, but hey, at least you're not. Yeah, JK saying, my gosh, that tree said, I'm out. Yeah, it's like later, y'all. I can't even anymore. I'm a tree. I'm going to bed now, y'all. It just unalived on its own. But essentially, yeah, right around the base of the tree is what's called the root plate area. And one way that you can kind of measure the root plate area is you can take the diameter of the trunk and multiply by 5. And so let's say, I can keep that tree. That's a good tree. No, I'll just race it and come back. All right, so you could take the diameter of a tree. Let's say it's 12 inches in diameter, which would be approximately 36 inches around. And you multiply that number by 5, and what you get is 5 feet. Right? Very simple math. So in that region, 5 feet in either direction is what's called the root plate, which is a part of the critical root zone. Oh my goodness. That's how tired I am now. I'm just like exhausted. Which is a part of the critical root zone. And then that root plate holds about 85% of the tree up. So, as Mr. Kai or Mrs. Kai, I'm sorry, I don't know, is saying, this happened. Well, that damage, that wood decay was in that root plate region. And so whenever you get that tiny amount of wind go, it just popped right out of the ground. So that's what we're seeing here. So anytime you've got decay, understand that that decay can continue on. When you see a fungus, when you see a mushroom, that's the fruiting body only. Think of it like the rose bud. You still got stems, you still got leaves, you still got roots, you still got thorns, right? That's just a very, very small part of the plant. That's the part we appreciate the most, but that's the part that is the most visible. And everything else is hidden, the roots and all that, or at least when it comes to mushroom, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg when you see a mushroom. And so when you start to see this kind of fungal decay right in here that we're seeing, you really got to get a tree risk specialist out to identify what's going on and start to determine, is this tree safe for my family or should we consider getting rid of it? So yes, yeah, tree said, I'm out. So I'm sorry that happened, Kai. That really stinks, but that's kind of what happened there. I said I wasn't going to do it, and then I went and did it. All right. Rust spots plus a pest issue. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got a fungal issue. That's obvious. You've got a pest issue. You've got some, what are they called? Galls. It looks like a hydrangea. Is that right? Tell me if I'm right on that. Is that a hydrangea or is that different? What's that? Cleveland Select pear? Cleveland Select pear? I don't know. Yeah, so you've got some sort of rust bacteria or fungal pathogen going on, and you've got some gall, maybe in the form of midges or chalcid wasps. I'm not sure. But those are all foliar and more aesthetic than anything. I'm not real worried about them, but it does tell me that the tree's not doing pristine when it comes to its health. So you may want to get the health of it upgraded. And again, check back on some of the other comments below. There's a ton of products we listed that really could come in handy for you. I'm going to go ahead and just link my Shopify store here too. Let's see, collections. How do I switch to a certain collection, Lucas? Do you know? I don't know how I set it up either, dude. Anyways, we'll deal with that later. But I'll just link you the whole store and dig through there and find some of the products. We finally started selling that stuff personally because it really works. And we've got a pretty good selection of some of the MicroLife products and more to come soon. So check it out, see what you think. We're moving on. Valerie's asking, Granny Smith apple tree. All I could see on it was ants, but what are these holes from? Can it be saved? Oh, those are just sap suckers. Yeah, those are okay. They're not really, really bad. They are essentially a bird is going around and they're poking little tiny holes in it and then sucking the sap out of it. Not ideal. So if you can keep them from doing that, that's better. You've got some girdling roots here, and you see those little sprouts that are coming in here, yo. That is a sure sign of stress due to the root flares being buried. Whenever the root flares are buried, the roots will literally come up for air, and they'll start wrapping around the tree. So I would get those root flares exposed. You want them to flare out really nicely at the base right here, and make sure they look like a kind of a tree should look. You know what I'm talking about, I think. But essentially, let me draw it here. Right now, you've got a telephone pole sticking out of the ground. You want it to flare out like a tree should and transition into those roots. That is a good thing. Whenever they're buried like that, you got the soil up to here, those root flares get constricted and the roots will literally come up for air and they'll wrap around and they'll start to constrict around the trunk. That can really put some serious damage on the tree. So hope that helps, Valerie. I would get those root flares exposed and upgrade the health. And again, just try some of those MicroLife products out, and that should do a lot of good for you. Hope that helps. Yoshi's asking the same. Yoshi. Sorry, pal. But yeah, same question. Wow, it looks like we're almost there, you guys. So close. All right, let's see if we can push through and make this happen because I'm so tired. Huh? All right. Japanese weeping. Chris is asking, Japanese weeping cherry tree has brown leaves. Is it going to live or should it be removed? I give it a trim on the edges. Maybe it's trimmed too much. Any help would be great. Root flares are buried. Christine's right. If it's supposed to clay, you're going to want to add. Yeah, so I would imagine it's probably constricted. Oh, sorry, y'all. Y'all don't want to look at me. You don't want to look at trees. You've probably got some root flares buried along with a little bit of constriction around where it was planted. That's a baby tree, so it was probably just recently planted. And let me give you this link here. Try this this radial trenching. That's a really good trick, and maybe that'll help. Maybe it won't, but I'd love to see it in action and see if it makes a difference for you there. So the leaves are not unalive. What you want to do is try the scratch test on it. And what that means is you basically just take your thumbnail and scratch an area that's not real sensitive. And if it's green, it's living. If it's dry and brown, it's not living. But I hope that helps. All right. Ashley Man is asking, our sweet gum recently lost a large limb, raining lightly when it happened. Not particularly windy, but we did have some storms earlier this year, and it was completely loaded with green sweet gum balls at that time. Yes. An arborist who looked at it yesterday told me there was no way to repair the injury without weakening the tree to the point that it would be unsafe in storms. Huh? And that the only safe option would be to cut it off below the injury or remove the tree entirely. Cut it off below the injury? What? Yeah, but I wonder what's behind there. I really don't see any structural. Hold on, I gotta get some fans going now. It's burning up in here. Yeah, so you've had some really big limbs removed. I'm wondering. No, I don't think that caused the decay. It looked like you had some included bark in that region, and I think that's why it broke. Was it? You probably had a really narrow branch union, and it just ripped off, as it does, like we've talked about before. Let's take a look here. I kind of disagree with the arborist. Oh, yeah, you got some decay in there, too. What I would do is what's called structural pruning, and we'd have to really do kind of a prescription plan to identify what's going on exactly in the upper canopy. So that's one that we'd have to take a closer look at. But I think you could probably save it. I don't think you need to remove that tree unless you've got something behind that like the opposite side of that limb that could be crushed. It looks like it's mostly just fence over there. If it were to fall, it looks like it's going to go that direction, that direction. It's probably how it looks like to y'all. And it's not going to come crashing into that building there, I think. I could be wrong, but you definitely want to get a tree risk assessment on that one. That's going to be a pretty serious one because that is a big tree. And so if it does come crashing down, the results could be catastrophic. So hope that helps. I initially, yeah, I see that. Yeah, JK, you're right. There's a house on the left, but kind of the opposite side of the damage is what I'm worried about. And so you've got, I don't know how to draw that properly. So if it were to fall, I think it's going to go parallel to the house. So there's a certain amount of risk, Ashley, you've got to consider. Is it worth preserving based on the direction of that house? Realistically, if it were to fall, it's going to go right directly opposite of that break. But I've seen some crazy things here. So again, how much risk are you willing to take on? What I might do is some serious weight reduction in the upper canopy, and I can't tell exactly what's going on there. But yeah, I think it's okay if you do some serious structural remediation. You might be okay, but that's one you definitely want to get a closer look at because that is the results could be catastrophic, and you don't want to be buried in not buried, but like be in your house when something like that strikes it. So hope that helps. Moving on. Anyhow, hi all, any help? One much appreciated. Let's listen. That look like a maple to you? Looks like a maple. Red maple. Ooh, gross. What is that? That's what I thought. I think happy Borrow Appreciation Day. Sorry. Funny joke. Same. Oof. Really. Yeah, they look like maples to me. And you can have some desiccation, some drying out, a little black. Yeah, a little bit of fungus. Yeah. I think they're using. I think they're using really high nitrogen there. I think those trees are growing more than they should, and whenever a tree grows more than it should, it's essentially going to it's going to be weak in other areas structurally, and it's going to be weak when it comes to the health of the tree as well. And so you've got some fungus on there for sure that we could identify. I don't know what it is. That's why I put that link there. Is maybe send it off to the local ag extension. Where are you at, Eric Suvi? We don't know. Yeah, the plants surrounding it are not ideal. Anytime you've got plants surrounding a tree like that, it's going to steal nutrients from the tree. But I don't think that's the primary causal agent here. I don't think that's exactly what's going on. I think that's just a minor issue compared to the rest of the issues. I think you've got a really weak structure on all of these trees, and they've grown very fast, and they don't have good taper. Here's a little tree biology or physiology, I should say, little tree structure more than anything. So whenever I'm going to do like the ultra exacerbated version, and then next to it, I'm going to do the ultra exacerbated bad version. So which do y'all think is more structurally sound? This structure or this structure? So whenever you pump high nitrogen into a tree, it's going to grow like this. Whenever you prune all those lower limbs, it's going to continue growing like this. Whenever you leave those leaves on the bottom, what's going to happen is those leaves are going to pump sugars and starches right into those areas, and it's going to develop stronger woody tissue. So when you prune a tree and force that growth up, now what do you do about that? Because you got to prune it to maintain like pedestrian clearance. It's obviously right next to the sidewalk, right? You've got people that need to walk by there, etc. So what do you do in that? Well, one thing that you could do is instead of removing all of these limbs on the bottom. By the way, y'all, I'm working on getting a little tree in here so we can actually take a look at this. I think JK called it a Lego tree yesterday. So you got all these limbs that come off here. Instead of pruning them off, what can you do? Because let's say you got a sidewalk here. You got a little bed there, and here's your tree sitting here. You got all these limbs that are encroaching on the sidewalk, and people are trying to walk here, and they're trying to bicycle here or whatever, and they run and bump their heads on these limbs. That's no good. Well, instead of removing these limbs, which most people do, what you can do is you can reduce the canopy height on them, and so that allows the tree to continue to use these leaves in this part of the tree to produce for itself. And so that's going to pump all those resources here and create a really strong structure to the tree. Believe it or not, over pruning can leave your tree structurally weak. And so that's really bad. We call it structural training of trees. Whenever you're trying to train a tree to be a strong tree, the Bible says, train a child up in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll never turn from it. Now, when he's young, I got kids. I know this from experience, and I was a kid. But when he's old, he'll never turn from it. And so that's so important is you don't want to overprune your trees, especially when they're young. You want to structurally train them. That's very, very important. So hope that helps. I'm not sure exactly what that black stuff is. We got to identify it. I don't think that's the primary cause. I think a weak structure is your primary cause, and you had some issues with the wind maybe, but I'm not sure exactly. But hope that helps there, Eric. And we're moving on. My willow tree's infested. Is there any way to get rid of these and possibly save my willow? Yes, but I got to know way more than that, Michelle. Drop me a message, shoot me a message, and maybe we can connect. But we got to look at that one in person. So you don't have to do the Arborist, digital Arborist evaluation. But what we can do, that's my name. Shoot me a message and we'll connect and see what's going on there. But that would be ideal if we can look at it in person to really identify what's going on exactly. Otherwise, I don't have enough information to really answer that. So, sorry. What's that? 3 more. We're so close, you guys. All right. So Christopher Robin, like the 100-acre wood guy. I'm sorry. That's probably like the first time you've ever heard that, right? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. All right. So 3 of the same trees in the same area. What's wrong with them? That is some sort of cedar, it looks like. Maybe juniper cedar. Junipers, cedars, by the way, are in the juniper family. So junipers and cedars are essentially synonymous. You also have some other ones that are called cedars that are not, and some others that are called junipers that are not. Mountain juniper, mountain ash. Mountain ash is a eucalyptus, not an ash tree. Oof. Okay, so that's a planting issue. That is 100%. These trees were poorly planted, and they are struggling as a result. Here's a couple of good resources for you, but you've really got to get these essentially the root flares exposed, and you've got to get some oxygen down to the root system because it looks like they were planted improperly to me. I don't have a lot to go off of there, but this might help, and then try these 2 products as well because that's going to go a long ways. This stuff, Lazarus juice. Yeah. What on earth is going on here? Try those guys out. I think that might go a long ways, and do it about once a quarter or once a month. You don't be shysty with it. That should really help perk it up. But you want to absolutely make sure that vertical mulching, or excuse me, that radial trenching is done because I think you've got a really poorly planted set of trees there. That seems to be the primary issue there. So hope that helps. Moving on. Posting for my dad. That's very sweet of you. He'd like to know if it would damage the tree to remove the branches without growth. Nope. Uh, Anytime you see unalived branches, you've got a part of the tree that is completely separated from the canopy. So unalived tissue is perfectly fair game. Oh yeah, Lindsay Purcell saying you might as well remove the tree and start over, plant it too deep, and will continue to decline and unalive. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, unfortunately, that was set up. Yeah, you've got some bricks surrounding the roots. You've got a tree that's planted too deep. You've got probably something like Botrosphaeria or Cytospora or something like that that's unaliving the tree from the top down. And you don't have a lot of branches in the middle to reduce the growth back to. So if you had a tree that had not been over pruned in the middle, then you might be able to reduce it back and do what we call retrenchment on the tree, where you essentially are regrowing it from the middle out. Remove all that dead stuff on the ends and do some really hard hitting, heavy, fast stuff that'll perk it up and give it quite a bit of a jump start. But I agree with Lindsay. I think you've got a really kind of a dire situation here. I think that tree is on its way out too. We joke and we say the tree is unalived, but it's not unalived yet. Is you've got a tree it's unalived, it just hasn't made it there yet. So yeah, unfortunately, you've got a lot of issues going on there. Could you spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and get this tree back to a good place? Maybe, yeah, maybe. I've taken trees that were way, 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 way worse and brought them back from the grave, if you will. But is it worth it on a small tree like that? No, I think Lindsay's probably right. I think you should probably. Ooh, yeah, Norway maybe. Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, there we go. That's better. Sorry, nothing personal, man. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I think you've got a really, really uphill battle. If you do try to restore it, let me know. I'd love to be a part of that journey. But I think honestly, you're probably better off cutting your losses and replanting, especially on a young tree like that. Norway maples grow pretty fast, depending on where you're at. Where are you at? Sandra, I don't know. But yeah, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I think you got an uphill battle. I don't know if it'd be worth it, but anyways, hope that helps. Moving on. What is this? Our second to last one? Woohoo! What is this vine climbing all over my tree, and how do I get rid of it? Can I just cut it, the base of the vine, and let it unalive, or do I have to pull it all down too? No, I don't. I don't know specifically what vine that is, but whenever you remove like sever a vine, that disconnects all the canopy from the roots. So that is going to. Oh, did I? Yeah, I'll go back to it. Sorry, Trisha, it's nothing personal. I don't know what vine that is, to be honest, but yeah, you're going to want to sever the roots on it. The rest of it is going to be more aesthetic than anything, because when you sever that, the above ground portion will unalive. It'll turn brown and nasty and gross, and so that's not ideal if you live in a nice neighborhood or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to do it, but aesthetically, yeah, you got to do it. Pull them out if you can. One thing that you could do is do concentrated vinegar. So you can use Roundup. I hate Roundup. I don't like Monsanto. Sorry, I know they got more money and bigger attorneys than I do, but they're terrible, and they do a lot of bad and a lot of harm to our environment and our personal health. And they're finding like Roundup, glyphosate, basically like stays in the body for so long, and it's not good. Leading cause of prostate cancer. Not good, y'all. Stay away from Roundup. However, when it comes to invasive species like this, I'm a little bit more lenient towards it. What you can do is you can sever the vine. So let's do this. Let's say you got your tree. got a vine growing up it. What you do is you sever it here and then you paint it with Roundup right on that bottom portion. And so what's happening is as you paint that Roundup, or you can use straight vinegar too. It's not as effective, but it does work. Straight vinegar, Roundup, whatever you choose, herbicide wise, you want to paint it there. Do not spray it because it'll go everywhere. The wind will pick it up and drift it everywhere, and you might cause damage to your tree too. But if you paint it directly on there, that vine's first defense mechanism is to pull everything away from that area. So what it will do is it will pull that Roundup right into the root system. It'll stay isolated, and generally at 6 to 8 months, it'll break down and it'll dissipate to a point where we can't measure it anymore. So not a huge deal if you do it in that case scenario, but don't go spraying Roundup, y'all. It's terrible, 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 nasty stuff. And when I say Roundup, I mean glyphosate in general. I don't care if it's Roundup or farmer's market brand or whatever, or farm and feed store, whatever brand. There's so many different ones that are making glyphosate now, but yeah, stay away from it in general. But yeah, man, vines are a pain, especially you get like kudzu around here is really, really bad. You know, all these different invasive vines from all over the world that come in and they just take over forests. So yeah, it will turn it brown. You might want to pull it out if you're worried about the aesthetics of it, but yeah, at least cut it and paint it with vinegar or Roundup or glyphosate or whatever. Hopefully that'll help. And Lucas brought up a good point. I'm sorry, Trisha, I didn't mean it, but I accidentally skipped your question. So Trisha's got a dogwood planted in April of 23. We thought it was unalived this spring. Just as I was about to pull it out, we noticed new growth. Do I remove the unalived parts? Got it. Let's see. What are we looking at here? The dogwoods, I can't remember if they are mostly grafted or if they are not grafted. Yeah, I think you can restore it. It's going to be an uphill battle, Trisha, but what you want to do is remove all the dead parts and start to restore that from the base. What you might wind up with is a really funny looking tree for a while. But yeah, I think you can probably restore it. If you do choose to go that route, again, let me give you this stuff. This is awesome. And you're going to want to keep that, whatever fungal pathogen it was that unalived it there. When did you say that happened? We thought it was unalive this spring. So it sounds like maybe, did you say where you're from? No. Try some of that stuff and some of these stuffs, and you might have some good results. Like I can't remember. Y'all help me out here. Do any of y'all know if dogwoods generally are grafted or if they're generally just rootstock grown into trees? I can't remember for the life of me. That's going to kill me. I'm going to have to look that one up and do a little research later. But yeah, hope that helps. Yeah, give it a shot of that and spray it quite often because you're going to need, and this stuff too, you're going to need to give that tree a lot of extra resources because it lost a big portion of its canopy and it has resprouted. I don't see a graft point on that. So I'm really hoping maybe it's not. If it is a grafted tree, what you're looking at is the rootstock. It's probably never going to flower like you want it to. So let me do a little research on that. I'll get back to you. I honestly, I don't remember what dogwoods. I don't think they're grafted trees or if they're just genetically hybridized, but I don't think they are, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong more than once in my life. I don't know about y'all. Okay. That's brilliant. Lucas is awesome, y'all. He's doing some research for me as we speak. He's saying they're generally not grafted. So yes, use those things, hit them hard and heavy with the MicroLife products, and hopefully you'll actually get some good results because I think you could probably restore that. It's hard. It's hard, honestly. Why are capybaras showing? What is this garbage? I can't get rid of the capybaras. All right, there we go. But yeah, hit it hot and heavy with that the MicroLife products and remove all that dead tissue. Unalive tissue back to the green tissue, and you might be able to restore that. That's the last one. We did it, you guys. Awesome. Well, that was amazing. That was a lot to go through, and I'm so glad y'all joined me on this. We've had what 8 people on at some points hanging out with us, and like I said, just thank y'all so much for being a part of this group. We are. Let me refresh it. I'm really curious. We are currently sitting at 882 members. Um, and that is unreal to me because that is over, what is that, 104, 116 people in the past week alone that we've grown on this page. That's unreal. And guys, again, just thank y'all so much for being a part of this journey. I started this as just a way to be helpful and answer questions, and it's turned into something totally cool and unique. And I couldn't have done it without you guys. Y'all have been a wonderful part of this. JK, thanks so much for being here. And we've had several other people that have just been wonderful about hanging out with us. Michael and who's the other guy last night? I can't even remember. I'm so tired, you guys. Yeah, academic. Oh man, y'all are. We've got some really really cool folks that are hanging out with us, y'all. And again, if you need a closer look, we'd love to have you come to our website. Let me just type it in here for you. It's arboristondemand.com, and essentially what we do is telemedicine for trees, and we basically go on and do exactly what we're doing here. We just take a much closer look, and something that's really cool, that's a big part of kind of a big announcement that we have to make, is we've started doing, we call it the Pro Arborist, it's not support plan anymore, it's Pro Arborist partner program. And essentially what we're doing is we're offering a monthly consulting service to basically people like me, people like tree care professionals. And yeah, that's right. Yes, I love it. Okay, so this is great. This is why we do this. So JK's saying, I feel like I've become so much more competent as a homeowner. Y'all, I've seen so many people. That's fantastic, JK. I'm really awesome, and that's exactly why we do this. Um, that like you guys own trees. When you own things, you should probably know about how to take care of them. And so one thing that I've done, I've written a book. It's called the Complete Tree Owners Manual, and it's for you guys. It's for people that have trees and that love trees and live around them to be able to better care and manage their trees. Because quite frankly, all of these issues that we're looking at here, y'all, they can be easily remedied if you just knew how to do it right. And nobody's teaching this, so I wanted to get out there. But this is another service that we have. You know, I told y'all just one example of a guy that I work with that's a construction professional, and right here, property managers and developers. He's a developer, and they've got trees that they're doing some work on, and contractors, and they need to preserve those trees. The people that live there love those trees. High rise condo, high end condo unit right here in the middle of Houston, and having access to a guy like me as is very beneficial. I've found, and I use that myself. Like I've got attorneys that help me. I've got tax people that help me. I've got all these things, and so we wanted to offer this up as a service to just be available for you guys and for construction professionals, outdoor living professionals, other tree guys. By the way, a lot of tree guys want to get into projects that they don't have access to, and landscape guys, because it requires an arborist. Well, guess what? There's only 28,000 arborists on this planet. Compare that to 450,000 attorneys just in the U.S. alone. To me, that's pathetic. But essentially, we give you 4 tokens a month. We've got various different programs, different price points, but that's something we've been working on the back end to really be available to those that need us on a regular basis. But if you don't, and you just need just a one-time quick fix, help us out with our tree kind of thing, just hit us up on arboristondemand.com, and we're happy to just get on a one-time digital arborist consultation, take a look at your trees and figure out exactly what's going on with them and help you better manage your trees. Because quite frankly, we love the trees that we live around, and they are so incredibly beneficial to us. So hit us up on the web. We'd love to have you and help you out as best you can. And JK, actually, this is a great quote. My dad always said, you don't own nature, you borrow it from your children. And that is so beautiful, because I love preserving my beautiful forest for my future children. You know, I heard a quote too one time that I really love. They said, wisdom is, and that's not, obviously there's different, this is not the definition of wisdom, but wisdom is planting a tree that you'll never enjoy the fruits of. And I think that's so good because trees are long-lasting, appreciating assets that only get better with time, and they only help, and they don't harm anything, like unless they fall and come crashing down. So if you're worried about that, we can help you out there and make sure you get going on the right path. But again, thank you guys so much for being here and for all your great questions. And again, if you have questions about your trees, shoot us a message. We'd love to help you out any way we can. Thanks again, and y'all have a wonderful night. We'll see you next Thursday.